Okay, just before we crack into today's video, let me explain how you can help us. More and more Kiwis are waking up to the fact that New Zealand is in big trouble right now. So how can we turn this country around? The answer is through education. What does that mean? Well, it means exposing more and more people to our videos. It's as simple as that. Just click on the subscribe button on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and you'll be subscribed. Well, hi, you beautiful New Zealanders. In today's video, I talk about what is the Te Pāti Maori really up to by rebelling in Parliament. What are they really up to? Well, let's talk about that. So in today's video, I discuss how Trevor Mallard and Jerry Brownlee are to blame fair and square for the Te Pāti Maori rebellion insubordination in Parliament, which we're seeing. Number two, I discuss how behind Brownlee are the puppet masters LUXON and POTAKA. Number three, I discuss how Maori want to take control of Parliament and the country. And number four, how the National Party, by being weak, is breeding brats and anarchists. And number five, I discuss how lawyer Stephen Frank sums up the situation perfectly. So watch. First up, what's really going on in our Parliament? Well, National are leading the coalition government, we know that. Hence, they got to choose the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House is the person in Parliament who presides over debates in the debating chamber by determining who may speak. The Speaker maintains order during these debates. He or she is supposed to discipline members who break the rules of the House. Little by little, Jerry Brownlee has capitulated to Maori demands and bad behaviour. When we, the public of New Zealand, watch what goes on inside Parliament, we soon realise that we are watching what can be likened to the inner workings of a very dysfunctional family. Te Pāti Maori is the spoilt child and Jerry Brownlee the foolish, weak parent. Wise parents will tell you that if you give in to the demands of your children often enough, eventually they will rule your home. So we are watching this played out right in front of our eyes. So what was the first act of parental capitulation? First, Waititi demanded that he was not going to wear a tie. Remember that? He claimed a tie was a symbol of colonialism or white supremacy. It was Trevor Mallard, Labour, who was the Speaker at the time, who capitulated. That was 2021. Mallard ought to have ruled the opposite way. He should have said, no, this is our standard and we're keeping to it. In 1840, Maori ceded sovereignty. This gave the British the full right to rule over all the citizens of the country, including Maori. I'm ruling that suits and ties are mandatory dress code for males in this house. Take your seat, Waititi. This is the end of the matter. That's what he should have said. But no, he didn't do that. He capitulated. So watch.
Today seems like a different day to yesterday. It seems like there's some kind of acceptance by the Speaker, and I think he's retracted on the decision made yesterday and at the end of Parliament last year. And it seems like we've got a progressive Parliament that looks at cultural freedoms to allow them their cultural identity to be expressed in this particular space.
Is that a good indication then that tonight, when they have the meeting about dress code in Parliament, that the rules will be relaxed permanently and you'll be able to?
Well, the thing is that they need to be relaxed and need to be able to be inclusive of the culture, and especially tangata whenua.
You know what? This call to be inclusive is an absolute rort. There is nothing that Te Pāti Maori are excluded from in Parliament. This call for Parliament to be inclusive is nothing more than a dirty little trick to get control of Parliament. That's what it is. Essentially, it's to weasel their way into being the bosses inside that chamber. That's what they're after. This is the brats in the family trying to take over the family. That's what it's about. You're looking at a brat, a big one.
Who have been a long time been assimilated and subjugated into a culture that actually doesn't belong to us. So it's now time for us to stand up and not accept that.
I had a discussion with his co-leader, and we agreed on a truce for a day until the Standing Orders Committee meets, and that is what has occurred. I did have an undertaking that he wouldn't be speaking, but that he would only be present, but we're going to deal with these matters at 7:15 tonight.
And are you going to change the tie rule?
It's a matter that I've sought advice on from the Standing Orders Committee, which is a broad cross-section of Parliament. I think I'm likely to get more balanced advice from that than I did from an earlier survey.
Yeah, but it's likely that the rule is going to change. So there's pressure on you and on the Parliament to change the rule.
I'm happy to listen to advice and to make a decision after that. I don't want to prejudge the advice that I'm going to get.
So what was the second act of capitulation? Jerry Brownlee has carried on where Mallard left off. only he's much worse. Brownlee did nothing when Waititi, wearing a ridiculous $2 shop headdress, waved a Maori weapon around a patu inside Parliament. Remember that? Waititi demanded this be allowed because he was Maori and this is how Maori behave. Oh, this is how we express ourselves in our Maori culture, he said. This is our Maori identity, he roared. Well, Brownlee just capitulated. Brownlee, like a weak parent with a spoilt brat, let it go. He gave him a lolly. He allowed it. He said nothing to stop it. By giving in, Brownlee encouraged more of it. That's the key thing, see? Imagine if it was another member of Parliament who'd brandished an M16 around claiming this is how his or her culture expressed themselves, that they'd be out of Parliament in a flash. They'd never get in. Jerry Brownlee didn't stop there. Next, he has allowed Maori to ask questions in Maori, even though Maori speak and understand English perfectly. So in other words, the Maori demand to speak Maori was just being vexatious. He justified his decision by saying Maori is an official language. Well, I say, well, so what, Jerry? He should have said, no, English is the language spoken by the vast majority of New Zealanders. In 1840, Maori ceded sovereignty. This gave the British the full right to rule over the citizens of the country, including Maori. I represent the government. I'm ruling that English be the only language used in the House. Take your seat, Waititi. This is the end of the matter. End quote. That's what he should have said. It would have been finished. Now look what we've got. Did Brownlee do that? No, he did not. Brownlee capitulated and in doing so encouraged more tyrannical behaviour from the Maori Party. And sure enough, he got it. Next came the introduction of tikanga or Maori law into Parliament. Maori MPs demanded that tikanga be accepted in Parliament, and what happened? Well, the next thing is Jerry Brownlee can be heard saying things like, oh, that's not the tikanga of this House, or that tikanga is not acceptable in this House, or I see such and such as acceptable tikanga in this House, and so on. In other words, Brownlee is not just capitulating, not just fueling Maori rebellion and tyranny, he's personally taking on board Maori culture. He's been tarred with the brush. He's Maorifying. He's moved towards the point of conversion to the Maori religion. That's what he's done. And behind him and directing him are the puppet masters LUXON and POTAKA. You can guarantee those guys are in it. I've done a series on Chris LUXON the activist and POTAKA the activist. You've got to see those. I'll put a link to those series of videos in the description of this video. Then came the haka. So can you see things how things are escalating? From a tie to allowing all kinds of attire, to allowing weapons in Parliament, to the use of Maori language, to tikanga, that's Maori laws, gods and spirits, and then to a full-on haka, threatening other members of Parliament, now refusing to attend a disciplinary committee, just outright rebellion. Observe the direction this is all going. Well, what is it? It's escalation. Massive escalation. Jerry Brownlee, to my amazement, he doesn't have a clue what's going on. It's like he's in a parallel universe. He doesn't join the dots. He doesn't understand. This is unbelievable. Well, getting control of Parliament. So what's going on here? What's the hidden agenda? This is about power and control. Many Kiwis have not woken up to the fact that what you are seeing in Parliament is a shadow of what is happening in the rest of the country. What's that? Maori are taking over New Zealand. Some people might write me off as a conspiracy theorist or an alarmist. When I did my tour of New Zealand 2 years ago now, I sounded the alarm for New Zealanders. Many people didn't believe me, but they believe me now. They're seeing it played out right in front of their eyes. Stephen Franks, the lawyer, agrees. Watch what he has to say.
TPM has been basically having a fight to see who's boss for some years, and Parliament has always wimped out. And if this one, I expect they'll do the same. They'll try and deal with this in some way that doesn't have a direct confrontation.
I know that in private meetings, the Maori Party have been incredibly defiant towards the Speaker, Jerry Brownlee, and that this has been brewing for some time. How important do you think it is, and how serious do you think this is?
Well, it's very important to the Maori Party. Their role, or they see their role as being to show who's boss, and to them, they make no secret of it. They believe that Maori are boss in New Zealand because they say it was theirs, and they want the power back. So by acceding to a whole series of small provocations, they've essentially been forced to keep going further and to become more and more truculent, because the purpose of this is not the particular issue, the ability to do belligerent hakas in the House. The purpose of this is to show who's in charge. And if the Speaker has been wimping, or looks as if he's been wimping, they have to go further.
See, there you go. So never give in to spoiled brats, never give them lollies. What Stephen is saying is that by giving in to seemingly small Maori demands, for example, their demand to ditch ties and suits, their desire to brandish weapons, their desire to run Parliament according to tikanga, and to ask and answer questions in Maori, etc., they have literally fueled the Maori desire to come back for more. They've trained them to come back for more. Put another way, Jerry Brownlee and Trevor Mallard have emboldened Maori. Like bad parents, they've given their spoilt brat children lollies when they have played up. So what's the lesson? You know what? You never ever give in to Maori. You never appease them. Never. It's the same with spoilt brats. If you appease them, you'll ruin them. In the household in which they live, that's New Zealand, you'll ruin New Zealand. You'll make a rod for your own back. How come Jerry Brownlee doesn't get this? What are they? We're seeing this played out right in front of our own eyes. So don't be distracted. I would say this to finish. Don't be distracted by trivia. I can't believe what, I see commentators online getting distracted by. The Green Party deviant Benjamin Dole, don't get distracted by him. He'll come and go. LUXON trying to build a big economy. Well, economies come and go. They go up and down. So what? Climate change, which is a big hoax anyway, that's going to go. We know that. The truth will come out about that. Earthquakes here and terrible events over there. What are all these things? Well, essentially, they're distractions from the main thing, the really important thing, the thing we ought to be laser focused on, which is the Maori takeover of New Zealand. If Maori take over New Zealand, we're screwed forever. Those other things come and go, but this is not going to go. This is going to come and it's going to stay forever. We're going to be absolutely screwed. We're going to become the Zimbabwe of the South Pacific if this happens, and that's just a fact. All right, I really am going to wrap it up now. I'm going to talk just to finish with about something called the camel in the tent. The rebellion and treason of the Maori Party and how they are slowly but surely weaseling their way into getting control of Parliament is alluded to in a tale called The Camel in the Tent. So here it is. Now you tell me if this is an accurate reflection of what is happening in our country or not. Let me know in your comments, so let's go. So here's a very famous parable called The Camel in the Tent. In my book, The Psychology of Takeover, 19 Strategies Maori Activists Are Using to Take Over New Zealand. By the way, you can get this book by emailing cards@stopcogovernance.kiwi. I talk about a strategy that Maori activists have used since 1975 to try and take over the country. What's that? It's called the camel in the tent. Let me explain how this works. According to this classic tale, one cold night, a camel asks his master if he can put his head in the tent for warmth. Oh, by all means, and welcome, said the man, and the camel stretches his head into the tent. Soon after, the camel inquires if he may also bring his neck and front legs inside. Again, the master agrees. Finally, the camel asks, oh, you know what, may I just stand wholly within? With pity, the master beckons him into the warm tent. Well, what happens next? But when the camel comes forward, it becomes clear that the tent is too small for them both. I think the camel said that there is not room enough for both of us here. Oh, it will be best for you to stand outside, as you are the smaller, said the camel. There will then be room enough for me. And with that, the man is forced outside his tent. Well, you can see what's going on here. The fable is a warning that small, seemingly harmless acts can often lead over time to huge negative repercussions. This is the camel in the tent, and this is what Maori activists have been using since 1975. So, where does this lead us? How does this tale relate to Maori activists? To gain control of some piece of land, some situation, or sea, or lake, or mountain, or river, or some asset, some person, some entity, some committee, some council, some project. You know what? They start small. For example, when the Treaty of Waitangi Act was enacted in 1975, the Waitangi Tribunal was mandated to investigate breaches of the treaty forward from 1975. Well, what happened? Only 9 claims were registered. It was tin pot. Activists infiltrated the tribunal. No one saw this coming, that this tribunal could be overtaken by activists. Then in 1985, the Act was amended to investigate claims back to 1840. Now in 1975, when they put this Act into, enacted it, Nobody could see these two changes, activists infiltrating the tribunal and the act being amended. No one saw this coming. The number of claims rocketed up to 2,034 by 2009. Now, these figures come from this book by Mike Butler. Well, what happens next? In 2025, the number of claims in the pipeline, how many are there? There's 10,000. So we've gone from 9 to 2,034 to 10,000. Well, who saw all this coming in 1975? Then there is the beaches. Helen Clark ruled the beaches belonged to everyone, but Maori could have limited customary rights, she said. In 2011, Chris Finlayson went further. Maori could have full customary rights, he said, so he passed a bill to this effect. To get customary rights, Maori had to prove that they had used the coastline they were claiming continuously and exclusively since 1840. You see how the camel moves into the tent little bit by little bit, a few changes here, a few changes there, and then, you know, boom. Look what happens. Very few groups qualified. The activists infiltrated the courts. Now, in 2011, when Chris Finlayson enacted that law, he didn't see the activists been infiltrating the courts. Man, he couldn't see that coming. They changed the rules to allow Maori claims using tikanga, or Maori law. Nobody thought that was coming. 500 claims rolled in. Again, I say no one saw that coming. Well, can you see how this works? What's the lesson? Don't even open the door of the tent. Keep it firmly zipped up. Sadly, the camel has got into the tent in New Zealand, in our schools, in our universities, in our police, in our medical system, our lawyers, our courts, our real estate agents. The list is absolutely endless. The government has created like a monster with 1,000 heads and 10,000 tentacles, and the tentacles have got into every single aspect of our society. It's everywhere. Politicians over the last 50 years have been so foolish to have allowed it. What do I mean by this? Well, what have our politicians lacked? The answer is they've lacked common sense and foresight. Well, what are these two? Common sense guides a man or a woman to do what's best for everyone. Foresight allows a man or a woman to see far into the future to predict possible negative consequences of actions. Now, if you combine common sense and foresight, what do you get? The answer is you get wisdom. This is the most precious of all human qualities, wisdom. Everyone, whether they're in a position of power or not, should seek wisdom. It's absolutely priceless, and our politicians lack this one great quality. Okay guys, that's enough for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Now we need your help with something. This is important. We have produced some great flyers and brochures which we want to get into the hands of all New Zealanders. So we need to go around the mainstream media. They're not going to help. In fact, they're making things a lot worse. So we have to go around them. And we need your help to make this happen. We can't do this without you. So what are we talking about? First, there is our business cards. They're only 3 cents each plus courier to get them to you. Then there is our latest booklet called The Psychology of Takeover, 19 strategies Maori activists are using to take over the country. It's 80 pages and packs a huge punch. So they're cheap. They're $3 and they're absolutely fantastic if you want to get a handle on what's actually happening in New Zealand. Then we have a few thousand of our original Stop Co-Governance booklets left over from my tour in 2023. Remember these? You'll remember we printed 550,000 of these. Well, these are now free because we realized that only about 1/3 of New Zealand houses got this booklet last when I did my tour, and so we want to get to the other 2/3. So if you do a few streets around where you live, that would be absolutely phenomenal, and they are free now. Then we have our MACA, that's Marine and Coastal Act brochure 2, which alert people to the loss of our beaches. You know, we're in danger of losing all the beaches around New Zealand. The text is written by Graham Adams, who's a great author. These are now free. And then we have our beautiful bumper sticker, which we've just made. And why are we doing this? Well, New Zealand's identity is under threat. We know that. First activists have and are still trying to change the name of New Zealand to Aotearoa. We don't want that. We must oppose this. This is rubbish. Where's the referendum saying that we want to change the name of the country? There was none. It was just forced on us. Second, Maori sovereignty flags are appearing more and more all over the place, and they're just treason. So we've got to get these bumper stickers out. So we've printed some awesome bumper stickers. They're $3 each, and they measure 21.5 by 6.5, so you can see how big that would be on your car. To get any of these free products, all you need to do is pay for the courier to get them to you. For the products that cost something, like the bumper stickers or the little psychology booklet, it's the cost plus the courier to get them to you. So to order any of these products, just use this email address, cards@stopcogovernance.kiwi, and we'd love to hear from you. Finally, if you want to access all the videos we've ever made, including all our most viewed and most popular videos, and have them all in one place, which is what people are asking for, then just type in this address into your browser. There it is there, https www.youtube.com/@StopCoGovernance, and you'll find it goes straight to our channel. Then what you do is save this address to your computer as a favorite. Job done. Well done. Then you've got them all in one place forever. And all the new ones that are coming in get placed into that address, so you won't miss anything. Okay, last thing, please, oh please, don't forget to subscribe. When you subscribe, you'll get the latest videos straight into your inbox. You'll never miss a video, which is great. You'll link up with like-minded people all over New Zealand, and that's very, very stimulating to have meet up with all these people who think like you. You'll be telling YouTube, I like these videos, and they will respond by advertising our videos to more Kiwis for free. It's incredible what they do, but it just relies on you replying to comments and making comments and liking things and sharing things and activity. That's what it is. It's just activity on our channel. And turning New Zealand around is simply a matter of reaching more Kiwis with the truth. So just click on the subscribe button on the bottom right hand side of your screen. The little yellow arrow is showing you where it is, and you'll be subscribed. Okay, see you next time. You guys are awesome.